for the infusion of positive energy into the lives of single Latter-day Saints everywhere. This is Joy in the Journey Radio.
And welcome back, peeps, to another wonderful, splendiferous, joyous episode of Joy in the Journey Radio. I am Lance, your host for Joy in the Journey Radio. Today is the 27th of October, 2021, and this is episode number 200. Leave the mask alone. I've been trying to get into the Halloween spirit, but it's just not happening this year. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm too stressed with the demands of this semester. Maybe I'm worried about reaching my goals to make positive changes in my life. Whatever the reason, my reflections thereon have meandered towards my recent performance. Recently, I've missed some deadlines for my research. Years ago, I never failed to deliver. So what's happened? I've been thinking of myself in one way, but in reality being another. In the context of the current season, I realize I've been wearing a mask, and I'm not alone. Many of us wear a mask. We pretend to ourselves we're one way and may even perform for others. But eventually, a moment always comes when we confront the truth. We see ourselves as we really are. And sometimes we're not alone in that moment. Rather than hide behind the comfort of our mask and risk being revealed before others, it's better to reveal ourselves and live before others as we truly are. It's better to leave the mask alone. Masks conceal one's true identity, allowing that person to act differently without incurring the consequences of having those different actions connected with one's reputation. That's why Batman wears a mask, to protect those he cares about from his enemies who would harm them to get to him. That's not necessarily nefarious. That allows a freedom that couldn't be found with concern over the consequences of one's actions. And that's the key. Concern over consequences. You need the mask so others won't connect what you do with your reputation. But if you were willing to accept whatever consequences came from your actions, you wouldn't need the mask. You could simply live as you would while others have full view of who you really are. We naturally shy away from such circumstances. We all have a deep-seated need to belong, and it's easier to belong when you do what everyone around you does, or what everyone around you expects you to do. Wearing a mask allows you to have one identity you present to others, so you conform to their expectations, while in reality holding a different identity that would incur consequences from others if only they knew about that different identity. I'm not suggesting all masks are bad. Who doesn't like Batman? I'm just saying we need to concern ourselves with how we use masks. We need to understand what we're really doing with the masks we choose to wear. We need to live with intention. As I apply that principle to myself, I see the need to put away a mask I've been wearing for myself. I've thought of myself as a solid performer in my work, someone who always delivers, but recent experience suggests otherwise. I may have never failed to deliver in a previous time, but times have changed. What happened? I'm not entirely certain. I think part of it is my singleness. Without needing to perform at a higher level needed to support a family, it's been easier to accept performing at a lower level while maintaining within my psyche an identity that differs from reality. I've been wearing a mask so I can feel better about myself. This is one mask I don't need to wear because wearing it means living a lie. It's better to live in truth and embrace who I really am, an imperfect man who experiences setbacks, but who also has the potential to rise above those setbacks and conquer whatever challenge lies before him. Embracing that truth means true freedom, because that embrace allows me to live without concern for the consequences of others seeing me as I truly am. What masks do you wear? Have you established for yourself a space of false security so that others will think about you in a certain way, or so that you can feel good about yourself? How about having others think about you in that way because you really are that way? How about feeling good about yourself by embracing who you really are? Many of us wear a mask we shouldn't be wearing. Let's embrace changes in ourselves so we can really see ourselves as we should be. Or let's embrace our actual self as our ideal. Acquiring and maintaining that match produces self-esteem. Combine that with living with intention, and you're on your way to your best life. Leave the mask alone. Embrace the freedom that comes from embracing truth. You'll feel better about yourself, better about your life, and better about your future. That will bring you more joy in your journey. Back in a moment.
Joy in the Journey Radio.
And welcome back, peeps, to the wonderful, spooktacular episode of Joy in the Journey Radio. I am so trying to get into like the spirit of the Halloween season because 27th of October, it's Halloween's this weekend, and I don't know what it is. It's just not coming to me this year, peeps. I'm playing like little spooky monster theme music like you heard over the break. Um, I'm trying to watch scary movies, but it just doesn't seem to. It doesn't seem to be working, and I don't know. I just think I think I've got too many other stressors that are pulling my mind and my attention off into, a different place. And that's the only way I can really explain it. And I guess it's hard for me to figure out what's really going on because I got so many different things that are pulling on me at the moment. So, um, what can I say? It is what it is. But in thinking about these things, like why can't I get into the spirit of the Halloween season? You know what I really need? I need to eat like a Reese's peanut butter pumpkin. That's what I need. I need a Reese's peanut butter pumpkin. Wouldn't that be? Yeah, that's what I need. I need to get on a sugar high. I'll, I'll think about that. But for the moment, I'm not going to rush out and get sugar because I got to do the program here. So, thinking about, why is it I can't get in the spirit of the season kind of got me thinking about, well, because that's the way my mind works. It's like the internet. It just kind of branches out and you start following this link and then that link and this link over there. And the next thing you know, it's like, how in the world did I get up here? What was I looking for to begin with? you know, I, I hope I'm not the only one who experiences that. Anywho, um, I just got to thinking, you know, w- when I was, considering this question of, why can't I get in the spirit of the season? It got me thinking about, well, there are some things about me that have changed. I mean, I, I kid you not. It's like, back before I embarked on this, second tour of grad school that we call the PhD degree, or otherwise known as the slavery internment camp program. Yeah, I mean, I was out in the real world working, and back when I was in industry, I never missed a deadline, not once. I mean, whatever it was I was assigned to complete as part of my job, I always got that done. Always, always. I mean, sometimes I was early, but I was never late. I was never late, not once, and I always delivered. What I delivered on time was not some half baked solution that I pulled out of some cow's rear end. I mean, I delivered quality work on time every time. I really did live by those 6 words: quality work on time every time. And that's just how I lived. And now that I'm doing my second tour of grad school, I look back and I see, it's like, wait a minute. How is it that I'm missing these deadlines? I was supposed to have some things done last week and I wasn't even close to getting them done. And it's not because, I've been lazy sitting on my rear up, not doing anything. So I'm just asking, what is this? Where does this come from? And that's got me thinking about, hey, I came to the realization that I was wearing a mask. I thought, whoa, what a perfect theme for Joy in the Journey Radio. especially around Halloween, we're gonna, talk about how a lot of us do wear masks. And, that's not just conjecture. That actually is true. A lot of us are wearing masks in our lives. Many of us don't even know that we're wearing masks. We wear masks to hide ourselves from the truth. We want to see ourselves as being something different than what we actually are. And it's something that we do. We ingrain this habit in ourselves. Here we go, talking about habits again. We ingrain this habit in ourselves so that we can feel good about ourselves. Because if we were to actually continually see ourselves as we are, how we are is so far from our ideal that we would never feel good about ourselves. And so, in order to feel good about ourselves, we create a facade. We create this image of ourselves, our self image. And, when that self image on the one hand matches the ideal self, the self ideal on the other, and you pair them up and you match them, that's what produces self esteem. And that's why we create this false sense of self. And we see ourselves as that false sense so that we will feel good about ourselves, so that we will have self esteem. Because if we were to see ourselves as we really are and see how, that actually is separated out, so we've got the ideal on one hand and the reality on the other, and we're seeing ourselves as we really are, then, that disparity creates a dissonance that produces a lack of self esteem. A lack of self-esteem. And so, that's not the place where most of us are naturally designed to go. Our natural biological hardwiring wants us to avoid that. So we create this facade. We see this all the time. Now, since my audience here on Join the Journey Radio is comprised largely of LDS singles, let's apply this to singles life. There are a lot of us who are out there trying to date, and we actually think that we're better than we actually are. And this is something that I've observed in both men and women. Okay. You're out there thinking you're a 9 or a 10 when the reality is you're like a 6 or a 7. And so this creates a whole host of problems. And what we really need to do is just take the mask off and leave the mask alone. Just leave the mask alone. Okay. You know, take that mask off. Now, of course, I have to kind of say this because I'm going to put this up on YouTube. So I have to be conscious of the censors that are there. I'm not talking about the masks that are here, that a lot of us are being forced to wear because of the bug. I'm talking about an alternative identity. When I say mask, I'm talking about an alternative identity in our psyche, in our head, an image of ourselves that we create for ourselves that doesn't really conform to reality. And, as I said earlier, it's like something that we create so we feel good about ourselves. So back to this application of singles, if you're really a 6 and you think you're a 9, this is going to cause so many problems with dating. Principally because so many of our dating decisions are being made with the natural mindset. So, let's look at this from the perspective of the man and the woman. So, let's start with the man. I should be a gentleman and say ladies first, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to be a man. I'm going to let the man go first. So, if we're talking about a single man who's really a 6, he thinks he's a 9. So what's going to happen is he's going to be trying to date. And of course, being a man, he's going to want someone on the upper end of the scale. So, if if he's really a 6, but he thinks he's a 9, then he's going to think he's good enough to attract women who are 9s and maybe 10s. So he's going to be going after them. But the women aren't going to necessarily be responding to him. In fact, I bet you dollars to donuts, they're not going to respond favorably to him. Simply because these women that are 9s and 10s aren't interested in a 6. They're interested in a 10 maybe a 9, but definitely a 10. Because again, this goes back to the natural mindset. Where, as I was saying before, you know, for a woman, the natural mindset means dating up. The natural woman is hypergamous by nature. She's always going to be looking for the better deal. So, she's not going to want to date down because that's not going to give her the new experience with desired emotion. There's no emotion that's desired that comes out of dating down, from dating beneath you. So a woman who's a 9 is not going to be interested in a man who's a 10. That creates a problem because guess what? After all this continual rejection, time and time and time again, this creates problems for the man. It also creates problems for the women, by the way, because there are plenty of women who could benefit from having this man in their life, but because he's so rejected, he starts thinking of himself in negative ways. He starts developing habits of self-talk in his head that, where he's constantly putting himself down. He's constantly feeling bad about himself. And this just creates an impediment to securing the eventual blessings that he wants in his life. Now, you could switch this around and say, okay, well, let's look at it from the perspective of the woman. So let's say we have a woman who's really a 6 and she thinks she's a 9. Well, this is also going to cause a lot of problems because if she thinks she's a 9, she's not gonna date a guy who's a 7 or an 8 because in her mind that's like dating down. Now in reality, she's a 6. So if she were dating a 7 or an 8, she'd be dating up, and that natural desire for hypergamy could be satisfied. But again, people don't respond to reality; they respond to their perception of reality. So if she thinks of herself as a 9, she's really a 6. But if she thinks about herself as a 9, then she's only going to go after the 10s. And of course, the 10s aren't going to be interested in her because she's a 6. I mean, why would a guy who's a 10, who actually scores at a 10, why would that guy go after a woman who's a 6? Well, there's no motivation there because, see, it's not like, well, I have to take the 6 or I get nothing. If it were that choice, he probably would take the 6 because something's better than nothing. But that's not the choice that he has. The guy who's a 10 has a choice of women who are 9s and 10s. So why is he going to ignore a woman who's a 9 or a 10 in favor of a woman who's a 6? A man who's a 10 is not going to do that. Okay, because again, a lot of our decisions are being made with the natural mindset. We've talked about that before here on the program. We've also talked about that on the World of TED. So, if you're not integrated with these programs, people, I'm putting some stuff up on YouTube, but the day's going to come when you don't get the full program. You're only going to get a clip. And if you want to see the full thing, you got to be a JJ's owner. So right now, here's what you can do. Go to the website, join the Journey Radio, and, become a member of our membership group. Join the JJ Zone, become a JJ's owner. So a little plug there. I had to put that in. But this is the problem. When we're wearing this mask, where we're thinking of ourselves as something that we're not, it can lead us into so many problems. And if we would just come to an understanding of where we really are, so if the man or a woman who's a 6 would realize, hey, you're really a 6, so you need to operate off of that reference point and not the other reference point, which is totally leading you astray because it doesn't represent reality. It doesn't represent what you really are. And yeah, it is hard. It is hard, but it's so worth it in the end. We're overdue for a break. So let me go ahead and take that break. When I come back from the break, I want to talk more about how do we get to that point? Because it is hard. As the Savior said, the truth will set you free. But first, it will make you feel awfully uncomfortable. And that awfully means awfully. So we'll get to that after the break. See you there, peeps.
Joy in the Journey Radio.
And welcome back from that break, peeps. We are here in the JJ Zone, broadcasting Joy in the Journey Radio today, talking about the need to leave that mask alone. Now, again, I just want to be clear. We're not talking about the masks that you have to wear because of the bug that's been around for the last year and a half or so. We're talking about the masks that we create for ourselves, the masks that we, wear in our heads, in the mental conception that we have of ourselves. We're all wearing masks of one kind or another. And we need to get rid of those masks because it's much better to live in a place of truth than it is to live a lie. It really is. And, before the break, I said I was going to get into, how do we get to this point where, uh, you know, we actually embrace the truth? Because as the Savior said, the truth will make you free. But what you don't read in that verse in the New Testament is that before the truth makes you free, it'll make you feel awfully uncomfortable. But once you get past that, it's great. Now, you know, going back to the song we played over the break, the Adams Family. I mean, first of all, okay, I kind of like the Adams Family. I mean, you know, eh, they're really quirky. And there's something about the quirks that just it makes it like attractive to me. I don't understand what that is, but something about their quirkiness that I just really like. It just resonates with me. Maybe it's because I'm kind of quirky. I don't know. I mean, how many people do you know who just break out into song as if to make life a musical? I mean, I mean, how many people you know that, right? I mean, seriously. So, there's something about them. It's just quirky. How did they? But they're very comfortable with themselves, right? Like, there's no pretense with them. They're not wearing a mask, okay? They're all ghoulish in their own way, but there's no obstruction or obfuscation of, a perspective just showing them as something of what they really are. There's no mask. There's nothing there that puts on this display of something that they're not really. Everybody knows who the Adams Family really is, And when you're looking at, I mean, it doesn't matter, who you're talking about, any member of the family, you know what to expect from every one of them because none of them are wearing a mask. What you see is what you get, and they just like that, and being in that place gives them an immense amount of freedom. It's like, so you're quirky, so what? That doesn't put up with anything. Those of us who are actually wearing a mask and trying to pretend to be something that we're not really, we're the ones who are struggling. We're the ones who aren't getting all the joy we can get out of life. So how do we get to that point? How do we get to a point where we're free to be ourselves, where we're free of the concern over consequences? Boy, if somebody were to see me as I really am, what would that mean? How do we get to that point? I believe fervently that the Savior was speaking the truth when he said the truth will make you free. But I also know from my own life that before the truth makes you free, it'll make you feel awfully uncomfortable. And I want to emphasize the word awfully uncomfortable because you have to face that dissonance that comes from seeing yourself as you really are and seeing how that's different from on the one hand, different from the way you idealize yourself, the way you think of yourself to be. It's very uncomfortable to be in that space where those two things are separated out because the only way you get self-esteem, again, this is how we're biologically hardwired. The way we feel good about ourselves, the way we're hardwired biologically to get self-esteem is to have that match between the way we see ourselves and the way we idealize ourselves. So we see ourselves as being what we should be. We see ourselves as being good enough. And we run into so many problems when we think of ourselves as something that we're not, just so it'll match our ideal, just so we'll think, yeah, we're good enough, and then we can feel good about ourselves because we're living a lie, and you're never going to be the happiest that you can be when you're living a lie. So if you want to maximize the joy that you have in life, joy that comes irrespective of your circumstances. Because remember, all of this is just, we're talking about stuff that's just going on in our head. And it's like I've said time and time again on the program, it's like you get what's going on up here right, and half your problems go away. I kid you not. You get this up right up here in your head, and half your problems go away. So we want to focus our, our attention, the program today, on how do we get to that point? How do we push past that, you know, awful discomfort? You have to know what's on the other side, and you have to walk by faith because you're not going to see it. You're not going to really see it. Now, depending on who you are and your life experiences, you might catch a glimpse of an idea of what it's going to be like, but you're not going to really know. You're not going to really know what it's going to be like until you actually get past that onto the other side. You're not going to really know, you know. So, you just have to walk by faith. And this is where, the testimony of witnesses, people who have already passed through that experience, people like myself. I've passed through that experience, and it's our testimony and our witness, that encouragement that says, yeah, you know what, I've done this and you can do it too. And it really is better on the other side. It's, I mean, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not an oncoming train. It really is the other side of the mountain. It really is. And it's so much better living in this place. Really, it's so much better living in this space where you don't have to worry about being something that you're not, you know? And this can just be such a great help. I mean, for those of us who are single, especially like our dating. I mean, think about this. It's like if you're constantly worried about somebody finding out that you're not what you really should be, and you're uncomfortable with that, that's going to broadcast a certain energy that's going to radiate from you, and other people will pick up on. Now, they might not pick up on it consciously, it might come to them subconsciously, but one way or another, they're going to pick up on it. And it's going to influence their decision that they make respecting you. Because again, go back to the fundamentals of the dating journey. If you want to progress in your journey, you've got to go from one stage to the next. And the only way you advance to any stage in the dating journey is by securing the agreement connected with that stage. Well, how are you going to secure the agreement unless you are agreeable enough? And how are you going to be agreeable enough if you're broadcasting this energy, this nervousness, this anxiety, this concern that says there's something wrong with you? The other person picks up on it. I mean, don't be surprised when the other person says, I'm not feeling it here. I want to go look somewhere else. Because without that agreement, you're not going to progress. You're stuck. You're stuck wherever, whatever stage you're in, which I think for the vast majority of us singles, we're all stuck in the friend stage. The first stage of the journey, the friendship stage. We don't even get that right. We don't even get that stage right. Okay. We think of the friend zone as some sort of negative place to be, like some godforsaken wasteland. Oh, dear goodness, no! Don't send me to the friends. I want to be a friend. Ah! Come on, can we grow up? I mean, friendship is a good thing. And I refuse to believe a friendship is anything but a good thing. Now, it may not get me all the blessings that I want in my life, but the blessings that I really want in my life are going to start with friendship. And how am I supposed to convince the person that really needs to be with me in my life to complement my life, for, someone who needs me in her life so that her life can be complemented? How am I going to convince that person to be in my life if I show by my actions toward other people that I'm not a good friend? Because if I'm not a good friend to other people, she's going to pick up on that and say, well, he must not be he didn't know, I thought might make a good friend to me. That's going to influence her decision regarding me. So, for all those people out there who say it's a waste to focus on friendship, I say you're looking at this all backwards. You're like a horse. You're like a racehorse with blinders, right? You can only see what's directly in front of you. You're not seeing the full, panorama of what there is to see. And because of that, your perspective is skewed and limited because you're not seeing everything. Just take a step back. The truth will set you free. But first, it will make you feel uncomfortable, awfully uncomfortable. But if you can push yourself through that, if you can come to a place where you can say, okay, you know what? I'm going to push myself through that discomfort. And I'm going to come to a place where, I can be free. I can be okay being myself. Now, I readily admit, going back to like the whole thing with like testimony, I readily admit I'm not a nine or, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm not a 10. I am not a 10. I'm not a 9. I may not even be an 8. Although, sometimes I feel like, yeah, man, yeah. I'm really not. Mm-mm. No. Uh-uh. You know, I'm maybe a 7, probably a 6. Hopefully not a 5, because 5 is like in the middle, and I like to think I have a few more virtues than the average man. But then maybe I don't, maybe I still wear that mask. It's preventing me from seeing what I really should be seeing, right? But hey, I realize, okay, I realize where I'm at, and I'm okay with that. I accept that. I say this is the truth about who I am. I accept that. It's an immense amount of freedom because I don't have to pretend to be something that I'm not. I mean, and when you start, I mean, because here's the thing: when you start pretending to be something you're not, eventually it's going to catch up to you, and eventually it's going to come and bite you in the rear end. You know, so let's not go there. I'm looking at the time, and we're due for a break. Let's go ahead and take that break, and we come back from the break. I have some final thoughts I'm going to wrap up the program with. So I'll see you there on the other side.
Joy in the Journey Radio.
Hey, welcome back, peeps. Another wonderful, spectacular episode of Joy in the Journey Radio. And, we're here today talking about the need to leave that mask alone. The mask I'm talking about is not the mask that we're being forced to wear all the time because of the bug. I'm talking about the masks that we create for ourselves up here in our heads. I'm talking about that mask, the mask that says, we are something that we really aren't. We create these masks and we wear them so we can feel good about ourselves, so we can belong and fit in with a larger group. The reality is that's nowhere way to live because that's living a lie. And you're not going to get the most joy you can get out of life by living a lie. It's just not the way the universe is set up. It's totally inconsistent with the way the universe is set up. So let's instead, bring this back around and say, okay, the better approach is to face the truth. Now, as I was been saying all along here in the program, it's like this is the one thing that a lot of us don't want to do because the truth will set you free, but first it will make you feel awfully uncomfortable. And when I say awfully uncomfortable, I mean awfully. The truth is going to be awful, but if you can get into that habit of actually embracing that and pushing through that discomfort, you can come out on the other side much stronger, much better, and you'll be free. You'll be free. It's like, okay, so, that's okay. Think about me however you want. It doesn't matter. I'm still enjoying my life. I'm still enjoying myself. I still have joy in my journey. See, we too often condition the joy that we have to some external circumstance. And, once you learn how things really work and you learn to break those connections that you've artificially created for yourself in your head, life gets so much better. Again, it's just, I kid you not, peeps. It's like when you get this right up in here, the way you think, seriously, half your problems will go away. Boom, just like that. Seriously, I mean, that was my experience. And that's the experience of a lot of other people who've gone through this process. And it can be your experience as well. So, face up to the truth. Take the mask off, leave the mask alone, and embrace the truth of who you really are. And if who you really are is not who you really want to be, that's okay. It's like I said in the monologue. It's like I embrace the truth about myself as someone who's not perfect. I mean, long-time audience member, will tell you. Ask any one of them. Ask any long-time audience member, and they will tell you, I have long said that I have more imperfections than Swiss cheese has holes. I am a walking construction zone. But, that's okay. I accept that. I embrace that. Okay, I choose to live in the place where I am, not in some place where I want to be, but I'm not. This is another problem that singles have with their dating journey. They try to live in a place where they're not. They think they're in a future stage of the journey, when in actuality they're in an early stage, and that dissonance creates problems, because reality will always catch up to you. Sooner or later, reality is always going to catch up to you. So just start out real to begin with. If you're not where you really want to be, then work on making changes in you so that you can get to be where you want to be, so that the real you that you see and accept matches that ideal you that you want to be. And then you get self-esteem from that. And then, hey, not even the sky is the limit. Not even the sky is the limit. So, to wrap up the program here today, because I see I'm running out of time, I want to leave you with this final thought. If you take some time to just sit down and reflect and ponder about, what masks am I created for myself, and how has that affected my life? And, what can I do to change myself so I become more of who I really want to be? Because, you don't want to do, you don't want to take the alternative road, really. You don't want to lower your standard so that, who you are now is, who you should be. You don't want to take that route. Yes, you will match together the self ideal with the self image and get your self esteem. You'll feel good about yourself, but again, you'll be living a lie, because you won't be embracing the truth of your potential, your unlimited potential, and you'll be living far, far beneath your privileges. So, this is where I really want to get you to. I want to get you to a place where you take those masks off and you recognize that, yeah, you're imperfect, but it's okay, because you also recognize your potential, and you also recognize your ability to move toward that potential and to achieve it. And so, this is part of the reason why, I don't beat myself up, because I understand that, yes, I am imperfect, and I embrace that, I accept that, but I also understand I'm trying to move to a different place. I'm trying to move to a better place. I'm trying to become a better me. And I know eventually I'll get there. But, if I don't try, then I know nothing's going to happen. Again, results come from one thing and one thing only, and that is action. So as long as I'm taking action, I'm okay with myself. And I think, looking at recent events and seeing, it's like, okay, so I messed up here where I didn't think I was going to mess up. I'm making mistakes in a place where I used to not make mistakes. I'm dropping the ball in a place where I wasn't dropping the ball before. It's good to reflect and think, okay, so what's going on here? What's causing me to do this, and what can I do to move into a better direction, to move myself into a better place, to bring myself closer to a better me? And and that's life. That's why we're here. We're here to improve upon ourselves, and we're also here to improve upon the lives of others. So, happy Halloween, everybody. I know it's not really a spoo, spectacular. This is there. But yeah, just learn to take the mask off and learn to embrace you, because the sooner you can do that, the sooner other people will be able to do it as well. And you find you have a lot more joy in your journey when you just get that done. So that's all the time we have here for Joy in the Journey Radio. I want to thank everyone for listening. And as always, I hope that I was able to offer you some benefit. I was able to offer you something that could help you. And if I have, I ask that you pay it forward. Find something to do to help somebody else. If you want to help me out, hit that like button down below. Share this video with your friends on social media. Help spread the word about Joy in the Journey Radio. That helped me out a lot. But, you don't have to help me. I mean, you can pay it forward by helping out, anyone in your sphere of influence. But find somebody to help and then help that person. We need to dig down deep and start sharing light and virtue and goodness with everyone around us, because the darkness is closing in. And we need all the light we can muster to push back against that darkness. So let's do that. Let's dig deep. Let's bring out the light. Let's let it shine. Let's do what we can to help others around us. And don't forget, come back next week for the glorious episode of Joy in the Journey Radio. So until next time, this is your host reminding you there is joy to be had all along your journey. Take that joy and journey on.